What if the most feared princess in the galaxy secretly chose the only human left alive and started a war to protect him? Every civilization believed humans had vanished centuries ago. They were remembered only as ruthless warriors whose emotions made them too dangerous to survive. But hidden beyond the edge of explored space, one human still lived in complete isolation. His name was Noah, and tonight, the most powerful woman in the galaxy was coming to arrest him. She never expected to fall in love instead. The stars above the planet Illyria shimmered like scattered diamonds across an endless ocean of darkness. Towering crystal forests reflected pale blue moonlight, while rivers of glowing liquid flowed quietly between ancient mountains. It was one of the most beautiful worlds in the galaxy. Almost no one knew it existed. At the edge of one crystal valley stood a small wooden cabin surrounded by gardens, wind turbines, and solar collectors. The home belonged to Noah, 26 years old, the last known human. Unlike the legends told across the galaxy, Noah wasn't a soldier. He was a botanist. He spent his days restoring forests destroyed by mining companies centuries earlier. Every sunrise began the same way. He walked through endless fields, planting young trees one by one. Tiny flying drones followed behind him, watering each new seedling. By sunset, another small piece of the planet had come back to life. Noah smiled every evening, knowing someone, someday, might walk beneath those trees, even if he never met them. His grandfather had raised him with one simple belief: a civilization isn't remembered for what it builds, it's remembered for what it leaves behind. Those words became Noah's purpose. He planted life where others had left only ruins. What Noah didn't know was that someone had finally discovered him. Far beyond the atmosphere, an enormous royal flagship silently entered orbit. The ship belonged to the Celestian Empire, the most powerful civilization in the known galaxy. Standing on its command deck was Princess Lyra. She was admired across thousands of worlds. Long silver blonde hair flowed behind elegant royal armor crafted from shimmering white crystal alloy. Emerald eyes scanned the holographic display before her. Her expression remained calm. Confirm the target. An officer nodded. Biological scans verified. Species, he hesitated. Human. The bridge fell silent. Lyra looked at the image floating above the table. A young man planting trees. No weapons. No army. No signs of aggression. Just a gardener. This is the last human? Yes, Your Highness. Lyra frowned. The reports didn't match reality. Every historical archive described humans as conquerors. This man looked incapable of hurting anyone. Still, orders were orders. The Galactic Council had demanded immediate capture. Alive if possible. Dead if necessary. Lyra quietly turned toward the shuttle bay. I'll go alone. Noah was repairing an irrigation pipe when a strange sound echoed across the valley. He looked toward the sky. A beam of brilliant white light descended from the clouds. Moments later, a sleek silver shuttle landed beside the crystal river. The door slowly opened. Out stepped the most beautiful woman Noah had ever seen. She looked almost unreal. Elegant, confident, powerful, Noah instinctively raised both hands. I don't have any weapons. Lyra studied him carefully. You know who I am? No. But anyone arriving in a ship that expensive probably isn't here for gardening tips. To her surprise, she smiled. Only slightly. You are Noah? I am. You are under arrest. Noah blinked. For planting trees? For being human. The smile disappeared from his face. So, they finally found me. There was no anger, only quiet disappointment. Lyra activated a pair of glowing energy restraints. I'm instructed to take you alive. Noah slowly extended his wrists. If it keeps everyone else safe, she paused. You are surrendering? I don't want anyone getting hurt because of me. That answer caught her completely off guard. Every tactical report claimed humans would resist until death. Instead, he surrendered to protect strangers. Something didn't fit. Before she could think further, the entire valley suddenly shook. A deafening explosion echoed through the mountains. Both of them looked toward the horizon. Black smoke rose into the sky. Another explosion followed. Then, another. Lyra immediately activated her scanner. Multiple unidentified ships. Pirate fleet. More than 50 vessels. One of her officers contacted her through the communicator. Princess, they're attacking the royal flagship. At the same moment, Noah pointed toward the burning forest. There are villages over there. Without hesitation, he ran. Not away. Toward the explosions, Lyra stared in disbelief. He isn't escaping? She followed him through the forest. Dozens of pirate dropships descended from the clouds. Laser fire erupted across the valley. Families fled in every direction. A burning transport crashed near a group of children trapped beneath fallen trees. The pirates ignored them. Their only goal was stealing the planet's rare crystal energy. Noah didn't think. He acted. He rushed directly into the flames. One by one, he pulled frightened children from the burning wreckage. A collapsing beam nearly crushed him. Lyra moved instinctively. She sliced the beam apart with her energy blade seconds before it struck. Together, they evacuated everyone before the transport exploded. The children clung tightly to Noah. One little girl looked up at him with tears in her eyes. "You came back," Noah smiled. "Of course I did. I promised I'd protect your garden." Lyra watched the scene silently. He wasn't protecting soldiers. He wasn't protecting himself. He was protecting children. And flowers. Her communicator crackled again. "Your Highness, the pirates have breached the flagship. We need immediate extraction." Lyra looked at Noah, then at the terrified family surrounding him, then back toward the burning sky. For the first time in her military career, she ignored a direct order. "I'm staying." She drew her glowing energy sword. The princess of the most powerful empire in the galaxy stepped beside the last human. "Looks like your arrest," she said quietly. "We'll have to wait." Noah smiled despite the chaos surrounding them. "I was hoping you'd say that." Above them, more pirate warships descended through the clouds. The real battle had only just begun. The first pirate dropship slammed into the ground only a few hundred yards away, sending snow, dust, and crystal fragments into the air. Its massive doors burst open. Heavily armed raiders poured into the valley, firing energy rifles at anyone who moved. Panic spread through the village. Parents grabbed their children. Workers abandoned their equipment. The peaceful world Noah had spent years rebuilding was turning into a battlefield. Lyra stepped forward without hesitation. Her emerald eyes locked onto the approaching enemies. Within seconds, her energy blade ignited, casting brilliant white light across the valley. The pirates laughed. One human, one woman, against an entire invasion force. They thought the battle was already over. They were wrong. The first pirate charged. Before he could pull the trigger, Lyra moved like lightning. One clean strike, his weapon split in half. The next attacker never even saw her. She flowed through the battlefield with impossible speed, disabling weapons instead of taking lives whenever she could. Noah watched in amazement. She wasn't fighting out of anger. She was protecting people. Just as he was. A loud explosion echoed behind them. One of the crystal towers collapsed toward the evacuation route. Dozens of frightened villagers were directly beneath it. Without thinking, Noah sprinted forward. "Run." He pushed two children out of the way just before the massive structure crashed to the ground. Dust filled the air. The children survived. Noah wasn't so lucky. A heavy crystal beam pinned his leg beneath the rubble. Pain shot through his body. He struggled to breathe. Across the battlefield, Lyra heard his cry. She turned. For one terrifying second, everything else disappeared. She abandoned her duel and raced toward him. Energy blasts exploded around her as pirates tried to stop her. She ignored every shot. Sliding beneath falling debris, she reached Noah and lifted the enormous crystal beam with surprising ease. "You should have escaped," she said, helping him stand. Noah smiled despite the pain. "And leave everyone else?" Lyra stared at him. No one had ever answered her like that. Most people fought to save themselves. Noah fought to save strangers. That single moment changed something inside her. The last human wasn't dangerous because of his strength. He was dangerous because of his compassion. People would follow someone like him willingly, not out of fear, but out of hope. High above the planet, the royal flagship finally won its battle against the pirate fleet. Within minutes, dozens of royal fighters descended into the atmosphere. The remaining pirates retreated into space. Silence slowly returned to the valley. Smoke drifted through the air. The gardens Noah had planted were badly damaged. Many young trees had burned. He quietly walked through the ruined fields, gently lifting broken branches from the ground. Lyra followed several steps behind. "I thought you would celebrate surviving." Noah knelt beside a damaged sapling. It took 5 years for this tree to grow. He carefully pressed fresh soil around its roots. "It'll need another 5 now." Lyra looked around. Thousands of trees, every one planted by hand. "You did all this?" He nodded. The planet deserved another chance. She had spent her entire life ruling worlds. Yet she had never met anyone who cared more about a single tree than about recognition. That evening, the surviving villagers gathered outside Noah's cabin. Children laughed as repair drones floated overhead, rebuilding damaged homes. An elderly woman approached Noah carrying a basket of fresh fruit. "You saved my grandchildren." He smiled. "They would have done the same for me." The woman hugged him tightly before walking away. Lyra watched quietly. No medals, no applause, just gratitude. Something she rarely saw inside royal courts. Later that night, Noah sat alone beneath the stars repairing one of his small drones. Lyra joined him. For several minutes, neither of them spoke. Finally, she broke the silence. "Why didn't you leave when you had the chance?" Noah looked toward the sky. "My family spent generations protecting this planet. If I ran every time danger arrived, everything they built would disappear." Lyra nodded slowly. "I understand that." He looked at her with curiosity. "Do you?" She smiled faintly. "I'm expected to inherit an empire. Sometimes I wonder if people respect me, or simply fear the crown." Noah looked directly into her eyes. Kindness earns loyalty. Power only earns obedience. His words stayed with her long after the conversation ended. Far above them, inside the Galactic Council chambers, the attack had already become political. The Chancellor slammed his hand onto the conference table. "The princess defended the human?" An officer nodded nervously. "Our surveillance confirms it." Another advisor spoke quietly. "If the people discover humanity isn't what history claimed, the Council's authority could collapse." The Chancellor's face hardened. "Then neither the human nor the princess can be allowed to return." A secret order was transmitted across the galaxy. Not to arrest Noah, not to rescue Princess Lyra, but to eliminate them both. Back on Illyria, Lyra received a coded transmission from her flagship. She read the message once, then again. Her expression slowly changed. Noah noticed immediately. "What happened?" She looked at him in silence. "They've declared you an enemy of the galaxy." He laughed softly. "I've been called worse." She continued. "They've declared me one too." For the first time since they met, Noah didn't know what to say. The princess looked toward the distant stars. "I protected one human, and now my own people want me dead." Noah stepped beside her. "You still have a choice." She turned toward him. "So do you." Their eyes met beneath the glowing night sky. For a brief moment, neither of them spoke, because both of them already knew the truth. If they stayed together, the entire galaxy would hunt them. If they walked away, they would never see each other again. In the distance, warning sirens suddenly echoed across the valley. Royal scanners detected dozens of hyperspace signatures entering the system. Not pirates, not traitors, an execution fleet. Hundreds of warships emerged from hyperspace, surrounding the peaceful planet in complete silence. Their flagship transmitted a single message across every communication channel. "Princess Lyra, surrender the human immediately. Failure to comply will result in the complete destruction of Illyria." Noah looked toward the stars, then toward the frightened villagers hiding inside their homes. Finally, he made a decision. One that would change the fate of the galaxy forever. The message echoed across the planet again. Surrender the human immediately, or Illyria will be destroyed. The peaceful valley fell silent. Children stopped crying. Workers looked toward the sky. Even the wind seemed to disappear. Noah stood at the center of the village, staring at the hundreds of warships surrounding the planet. He knew what would happen next. The council had never cared about justice, only control. If he surrendered, they would erase him forever. If he refused, millions of innocent lives would be lost. Without saying a word, Noah quietly began walking toward the landing field. Lyra immediately grabbed his arm. "What are you doing?" He smiled sadly. "Ending this. You said they wanted me. They don't need anyone else." Tears filled Lyra's emerald eyes for the first time in years. "You don't know what they'll do to you. I do. And I'm willing to pay that price." She stepped in front of him. "No. They lied about humanity. They lied to the entire galaxy. If they silence you, the truth dies with you." Noah looked around the village. Families who had become his friends stood watching. The children whose gardens he had planted. The elderly people he had helped through countless winters. He couldn't let them suffer because of him. Suddenly, the little girl he had rescued from the burning transport ran toward him. She wrapped her tiny arms around his waist. "Please, don't leave." Another child stepped forward. Then, another. Within moments, dozens of children surrounded Noah. Behind them came the adults. One by one, the villagers stood beside him. Not because he was human, not because he was special, because he had spent years helping every one of them without asking for anything in return. An elderly man looked toward the warships above. "If they want him, they'll have to go through all of us." Across the crowd, hundreds of voices answered together. "We stand together." Lyra looked around in disbelief. She had commanded armies that obeyed out of duty. These people stood together out of love. At that moment, every broadcast satellite around Illyria suddenly activated. The villagers had unknowingly transmitted everything live across the galaxy. Billions of people watched. They expected to see the last human begin a war. Instead, they watched ordinary people risk their lives to protect him. Inside the council flagship, the Supreme Chancellor frowned. "End the broadcast." A technician shook his head. "It's already reached thousands of worlds." The Chancellor slammed his fist onto the console. Fire. Outside, the flagship's main weapon slowly charged. A beam powerful enough to erase the entire valley began glowing bright blue. Lyra knew she couldn't stop it alone. She looked toward Noah. "I have one chance. What are you going to do?" She smiled gently. "What you taught me. Protect others first." Before Noah could stop her, Lyra sprinted toward her royal shuttle. The engines roared to life. She launched directly into the sky. One fighter, against an entire fleet. Noah watched helplessly as her small ship accelerated toward the enemy formation. The fleet opened fire. Hundreds of energy blasts filled space. Lyra dodged between explosions with impossible precision. She wasn't trying to destroy the fleet, she was buying time. Each second she survived gave the villagers another second to escape. Suddenly, her shuttle was hit. Warning alarms echoed through the cockpit. Engine failure. Shield collapse. Smoke filled the cabin. Still, she kept flying. She aimed her damaged shuttle directly toward the flagship's main cannon. The Chancellor realized her plan too late. Interceptor. Dozens of fighters moved in. But Lyra was already there. Her shuttle collided with the weapon's energy core. A blinding flash exploded across space. The flagship's cannon shut down instantly. The shockwave disabled dozens of nearby warships. Far below, Noah watched the explosion with horror. No. The communicator on his wrist crackled weakly. Lyra's voice barely came through. "Noah, I'm sorry. I couldn't let them take you." Static filled the transmission. Then, silence. Noah fell to his knees. The woman who had crossed the galaxy to arrest him had just sacrificed everything to save him. Across the galaxy, billions witnessed her final act. The silence lasted only a few seconds. Then, something extraordinary happened. Civilian ships began appearing from hyperspace. First one, then 10, then hundreds. Doctors, traders, explorers, freighters, ordinary people from every civilization. None carried weapons. They simply formed a massive wall between Illyria and the Council fleet. One captain transmitted a simple message. If humanity protected us, it's our turn to protect humanity. Another ship joined. Then another. Within minutes, thousands of civilian vessels surrounded the planet. The Council had never expected the truth to unite the galaxy. They ordered their fleet to retreat. For the first time in centuries, fear had changed sides. Days later, rescue teams searched the wreckage of Lyra's shuttle. Against every expectation, they found a survival pod drifting through space. Inside, Lyra was alive. Weak, injured, but alive. When she finally opened her eyes aboard a medical ship, the first person she saw was Noah. He smiled with tears in his eyes. "You always did have terrible timing." She laughed softly. "I learned that from a human." Months passed. The Council's secret records were released to the public. World after world discovered the truth about the human war. Humanity had never betrayed the galaxy. Humanity had saved it. The leaders responsible for rewriting history were removed from power. A new alliance was formed, not built on fear, but on trust. 1 year later, children from dozens of different species gathered in the forests of Illyria. Together, they planted thousands of new trees beside Noah and Lyra. The once forgotten planet became a symbol of a new beginning. Every visitor asked the same question: what ended the greatest lie in galactic history? Some expected the answer to be a battle. Others expected a powerful weapon. Noah always smiled before answering. It started when one person chose kindness over fear. Lyra reached for his hand as the sun slowly disappeared behind the crystal mountains. The little girl who had once begged Noah not to leave ran through the forest laughing with children from worlds that had once been enemies. Peace had finally taken root, just like the trees Noah had planted years before. Because in the end, the strongest force in the universe wasn't an empire. It wasn't an army. It wasn't advanced technology. It was the courage to care for someone when the entire galaxy told you not to. And that single act of compassion changed the stars forever.